All right, you are listening to the Vieira Vault.
Yeah, well, say your name in the band too, you know.
All right. Hey, that's a good idea. All right, we'll try it again. Hey, this is Dan Watson of Hexx, and you're listening to the Vieira Vault.
Grab a jam, let's see where this is down. It's my podcast. This guy's insane. Rock your brain. It's just a sound. It's the Vieira Vault.
Smack 'em a gob, and it's time for another Vieira Vault. This week, it's hysterical. I did a killer interview with Dan Watson from Hexx. Well, I did some of it. My ex-guitar player, William Barter, is a huge Hexx fan. And he had to be part of it. And he joined us, and he was very drunk. But funny as fuck. Not a slurring drunk, not, incoherent or anything. He was on the ball. And Dan got a kick out of it and was very happy to hear Willie's fandom, because Willie knows his Hexx. So, without further ado, let's get into it. This is me and Willie's interview with Dan Watson from Hexx. All right, it is a pleasure to have with me from Hexx, Mr. Dan Watson. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great, Rob. Thank you so much for having me on your show, man.
Hey, thank you for being part of it. And I have with us as well William Barter, who's a huge fan, and he's going to have some questions for you. Say hi, Willie.
Hey, how's it going, Dan? I just want to tell you, and we were talking a little bit before, huge fan of yours. I even drew the Hexx logo on my book bag in high school. A buddy of mine turned me on to Hexx. I heard the the speed, thrash death metal stuff first. Went back, heard the old stuff, was like, whoa, what the hell is this? This band's all over the place, and I used to sport the book bag with the Hexx logo. Kids would be like, who's that? I'm like, oh, you don't know Hexx, you poser, and that's pretty much how that was.
Good for you, Willie.
So it's a real pleasure to actually talk to you, and I got to tell you, and I said this before, but I personally admire you as a guitar player because the stuff that you did throughout your career, you did some pretty sick stuff. I mean, you guys got really, really technical at one point, like pretty techy, and
went overboard a little bit there.
It was awesome.
I think we might have been smoking too much pot back then.
But that shit just rips your face off, like seriously, like from like right out the gate, But okay, I'll go ahead and let Ralph take over.
Well, I would like to, Dan, before we get, because Willie's got the history, and I am aware of the older stuff as well. I'm no poser, but but I do want to get right into Entangled in Sin. I got an advanced copy of it, and wow, it's a great album, man.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like songs like Power Mad, like really, like stuck to me, and Beautiful Lie, and the song that really got stuck in my head was Vultures Gather Round.
Oh, good.
But the title track, there's some interesting lyrics on that one. What inspired this song?
Oh, see, you opened up a whole can of worms there, man. Well, what it is I was born into a religious cult where my father was the leader.
Mm.
And he, much like the song, he lost all his followers. And it wasn't because he was smoking and drinking and jerking off to porn. It was just he's just I think he was confused at the time, and he had sustained a head injury, and there were some other issues. So, but yeah, just so I kind of have this, this father issue, and I have issues with religion because I grew up watching how easily weak-minded people can be manipulated by religion and by charismatic religious leaders.
Right. Well, it's a very, very interesting song. So yeah, it's not technically about your dad, but it's a very inspired song from your upbringing.
Yeah, and from you know, kind of like the whole thing, the Catholic Church thing. It's like you're born a sinner and all that stuff, and so you're they make it so they put you in this box right away, and then if you're indoctrinated with that belief, then you're screwed. So I just don't like that whole mind control thing that religion does, especially Catholicism, and you know
Right. Now, this
Amen to that.
is there like because it's been 3 years since the last album, Wrath of the Reaper.
3 years already. Wow.
Yeah, 2017.
Have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Was there more thought? Because to me, it sounds like there's more thought put into this album than not. Wrath of the Reaper is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's a bad album, but this one seems a little more cohesive and a little more thought put into it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I appreciate you, noticing that, because I did put a lot of thought, especially into the lyrics and into the concepts, and the songs were a lot more thought out and planned out, and we were more selective with the kind of riffs we were using, and I'd come up with a bunch of riffs, and I kind of narrowed it down to the best 200 or so, and made the album out of it.
Right. And you re-recorded a couple songs from the first album, right? Terror and Night of Pain?
Yeah, that was actually our manager, Bart Gabriel's idea. And the idea behind that was, the first album, the No Escape album, was our first album, and, the production wasn't that great on it. And he thought those songs, deserved another shot at some time in the spotlight, and he was right, man, because re-recording those, we were able to really, get a really good version of them, because the drums aren't very good on the No Escape album. You can't really hear the drums, and it was fun just to re-record them. And of course, our singer Eddie Vega just nailed it, crazy with his vocals technique. So yeah, I was really pleased with those songs. I'm pleased with the whole album. It's pretty much what my vision for it was, and whether anybody else really likes that or not, I don't know. But I gotta like it, or I can't, or I don't want to put it out, So I'm funny that.
In the end of the day, Dan, as long as you like it, it's a success, right?
Yeah, and I may be the only one that listens to it, but hey,
Well, me and you.
Look, that's good. I'm glad I'm totally alone.
Yeah, unfortunately Willie couldn't hear it because of the pandemic. He's not too close to me, and I was sworn to secrecy. I could not share this with him because I actually wrote saying, "Can I send this to my friend? He wants to be part of it." No, you can't share it. I was like, "Oh, okay," But Willie unfortunately hasn't heard it yet. When is it released? I see here the September 25th, 2020.
Oh, okay, that's what it is. I better write that down so I know it is.
Yeah, no, actually, what happened was I was supposed to go over, but I coughed on the phone because I'm a chain smoker, And he's like, "Oh, don't come over here, man. You got the corona, No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Hey, can't be too careful nowadays.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts out there. Yeah, this is actually, we're living through like history right now. All right, go ahead, Ralph.
Yeah, well, it's going to be on High Roller Records. Just be on the lookout out there. Dan, like usually what I do toward the end of the show is, I play something so people be aware of it. Would there be a specific song you would want me to add to the end of this, so people, like if you were to pick one song off this album to represent the whole album, what song would that be?
Oh man, that's not
I know it's a tough one.
The idea was to have all the songs a little different, so. But I don't know. I don't know. I guess "Strive the Grave" might be a good one.
Okay, all right. I'll add that toward the end. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about the process of this new album?
Sure. The songwriting process begins primarily with me, and I've developed some songs, and then I make a demo tape in my basement, and I send it to all the guys in email and get everybody's feedback. And that helps a lot because the guys don't hold back with the criticism. They go, that's horrible. What are you doing with that?
Right.
And then they'll say if they think that's good or something we can develop. So that's the first step of the process, is making sure all the guys like the riffs and like the songs and everything. And once I get, because if those guys aren't vibing on it, I can't go to the next level with it. So the band has to really be vibing on the material. And then once that happens, the rest is pretty easy. We kind of rehearsals, we work out the bugs and stuff, and so we're ready when we go into the studio. We're ready. We know exactly what we're going to do. We know all the beats per minute for all the song. We know how long the song is going to be. We work out any weird things beforehand so we don't waste time in the studio. We've been doing this enough to where we kind of have our little process refined so that we can deliver, the best recording we can do with the budget we're offered.
Right. And were all these songs written before this whole pandemic thing?
Oh yeah, long before.
Oh, all of it.
Oh yeah. The recording was finished long before the pandemic came out.
Oh wow. So it's been in the can for a while.
Yeah. It took us a year to record it, and the whole project was plagued with problems and disasters. Our original bass player, Bill Peterson, was scheduled to record bass for the 2 remakes from the No Escape album, and he died a week before his studio session. So yeah, that sucked, and so I had to have Don, our new bass player, come in and re-record because we didn't have him do bass on those because Bill was going to do it. So that was a big bummer. And then our studio engineer and good friend Tim Narducci, his dad passed away halfway through the project, so he was all torn up, and we had to stop for that. And I should probably start writing this stuff down because there's so many things I can't even remember. But we finally persevered and we got through the damn thing. And looking back, it was hard, but it was good. It is what it is. That's life. It throws you curves and there's bumps in the road, and that's what defines your character in the end, right?
And in the end, you came out with a great album.
Well, thank you. I hope so. I'm happy with it, but I'm weird, man. A lot of the times I don't vibe with what everybody else is vibing on. I'm out there on my own, so I don't know if anybody else is really going to like it or not.
I think they will. All right, Willie, here's your chance, man. You got those questions.
Yeah, no, I got a ton of shit. But I was gonna actually say, sorry about your loss with Bill and stuff. Yeah. I actually wanted to mention that earlier. It sucks losing like an old buddy and stuff like that. And
it's hard.
He was a sick bass player. I mean, mind blowing, man. The guy was like pretty rad on the bass. Like,
seriously. Yeah, he was great, and we started really young, and he was a great friend, and we spent countless hours making music and traveling, and it's rough when you lose someone like that.
No, I can imagine, dude. I trust me, I kind of can relate to like a certain degree. Well, I'm gonna get started as a Hexx fan. I have like a ton of questions, but the number one question would be, and I think everybody that's been into Hexx for like years is, I'm sure there's some listeners out there that maybe this is the first time that they're hearing about Hexx, posers, Anyway, so the first question, and of course a diehard's always going to ask you this: is there any unreleased demo or any like songs that didn't make the cut, throughout the years, whether it be from back in the day or through the the Speed, Death Insanity you guys did? Is there anything out there that that you might have recorded that we haven't heard yet?
Yeah, oddly enough, there's a whole album.
Holy shit! Holy shit! That's awesome.
What year? Around what era was this album that wasn't released?
It was right after Morbid Realities. So what happened was, after we recorded Morbid Reality, we recorded that by ourselves. We didn't have a label, and so we financed it ourselves and recorded it ourselves and pitched it around. And just got rejected from everybody. But by that time, the last thing any record labels wanted was another speed metal act, right? So we were about to throw in the towel, and we got a call from the good folks at Century Media, and they put the record out. And we toured for that, and they paid for the tour, and we did. They flew us to New York to play some big sick festival with Cannibal Corpse and a bunch of other killer acts, and we did everything we could to support the record, but there was turmoil inside the record label, and when it came time to do the new album, we'd written a new album and recorded it on cassette tapes, live rehearsal tapes, and sent it in, and they didn't even respond. They wouldn't even tell me to fuck off. They just
wow.
yeah, it was fucking weird.
Holy shit, man. So,
Yeah.
do you still have the recordings of all these?
Well, is there like Bill and I are the only ones that had cassette tapes of it was like 7 or 8 songs. And we decided after touring Morbid Reality that we didn't want to do that extreme technical death metal that we just did, because it was really hard to tour with playing that kind of music every night.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. It was one thing. It was fun to make a record like that, but the reality of going out and touring for that album was hard, especially on our drummer, because it's just what this record sounds like. So
yeah,
we decided to go back to our power metal roots, and so we wrote an entire album. The only track the title track was going to be a song called "Sink or Swim," and it was about us. We were going to sink or swim with this next batch of tunes, and so. There's a cassette tape. I thought Bill had one. He thought I had one. Neither one of us could find it. I have a big box. I have a big box of cassette tapes. It's a huge box. It would take me a week to go through all the tapes to find it. And Bill passed away, and I don't know where his tapes are. So I might have a tape of it somewhere, but I can't find it.
Holy shit.
So none of those songs.
Someday, but it's not very good recording. It's live rehearsal tapes, but it's like 7 or 8 new Hexx songs.
Oh, but that's still sick, man.
Kind of power metal. They were good. I thought they were good, And but yeah, and then so we sunk instead of swimming right there. That's when the band up, and we couldn't get that record going. So, and then the whole metal scene was changing at that particular pivotal time anyway. Nirvana, nobody wanted to hear metal. It was all that grunge shit, so it was over, and that was it.
Yeah.
So
no.
There's a tape somewhere in my basement, but I would have to rewrite. I would have to go back and find it, and then if any of the songs were any good, I'd have to re-record them, because you couldn't release that cassette tape. The quality's too poor,
Oh no, that's like still pretty awesome though. That even happened,
So none of those songs were re-recorded, like for the Up From the Graves demo.
No, okay. That was all new stuff. And yeah, like I said, we were trying to go back to the power metal roots, like Under the Spell. So all the songs were more groove oriented. We weren't doing. There was some fast stuff going on, but nothing like Morbid Reality or Quest for Sanity,
You think down the road?
We've done the road 180 already,
Right. Go ahead, Willie. What were we saying?
No, I was gonna say, do you think down the road, like if you ever found that tape, you'd ever re-record some of those just for just for kicks, or nah?
Maybe. If the songs, like I said, if the songs are good, it's like it is when you think a song's good, and then you put it on a tape and you listen to it 30 years later and you go, what was I thinking? But maybe that's why we didn't get another record deal, because the songs weren't good enough. But I think they were. We were excited about it. It was good grooving stuff, man. And Clint, the other guitarist, had wrote several songs, and they were cool, man. But we had that death metal vocal thing going on, but it was the music was more power metal, but the vocals were death. So
that's awesome.
Weird combination.
That's pretty.
That record that'll never be.
Well, it's good that the last 2 albums were on High Roller Records, so I guess you guys got a good thing going with them.
Yeah, we're really lucky that those guys are on our side, man, because they're really cool and they've helped us a lot. And without them, you wouldn't be hearing from Hexx right now at all. But without them and Bart Gabriel, there would be no Hexx to talk about right now.
Right.
Actually, they re-released a bunch of the old stuff. Like I have a Morbid Reality vinyl from High Rollers, and they've put out, like, they've reissued a lot of the old stuff, and given you guys like a lot of justice. Actually, a good packaging, good, everything. Like awesome.
Yeah, everything they do is really good quality. You know, we're really happy and very fortunate that they, you know, give us the time of day.
No, and trust me, a lot of the fans out there are really appreciative of them too, because I mean, my Hex cassette of Morbid Reality couldn't take anymore. I'll tell you that right now.
I have it on
So
CD, but I have the original one on CD.
that's rare. The Century Media one, that's pretty rare. It's hard to get. It's I mean, that fetches bucks. Let me tell you. I was gonna tell you. So next question, I gotta ask you. I have to ask you because I'm a guitar player myself, and a lot of dudes that listen to Hex, whether it be any era, they probably play guitar too. There's a lot of them out there, so I have to ask
Yeah.
you. And gear, man, like what is it that what's your go-to amps, guitar, pickups, pedals, the whole nine? Like, let's have it. Let's have some tips from the master over here.
But I'm an old man. I'm stuck in my ways. I like my old Flying V. My Gibson Flying V. I think there's a Seymour Duncan in the bridge position in that, and the one I use most of the time.
Oh yeah.
My John Marshall works as a he's a big shot at Mesa Boogie there, and up north in Northern California. So he turned me on to some to the Boogie amp. So this album I used the Boogie to record the dual rectifier to record this album. The last album I think I used an Engel amp for Wrath of the Reaper for all the rhythms, and I used a Marshall for the solos. But this time I used the Boogie for everything, and it just sounded so mean. The rhythms, especially when I doubled the rhythms, it was just crunchy, and that's what I want.
Yeah, I saw you with a Mesa Boogie on a live clip on YouTube actually, and that's why I was asking, because I know that you used to use Marshalls, I think, back in the day.
Everybody used Marshalls. Well, Marshall amps, it's kind of they're a one trick pony, right? But it's a good trick.
Yeah, no, vicious. No, seriously. And any other like effects or anything that you use aside from the amp, like any pedals or anything that you're a big fan of?
No, I try to I really don't. I went through a phase like all guitar players do, I guess, where I experimented with all kinds of pedals and sounds, and I thought I was going to be Pink Floyd for a minute there, and then, the older I get, the more the need for simplicity, and plus the less, I've done, enough live shows to know that the more things you have going on, the more chances something could go wrong,
Yeah.
And so I really, especially when we're traveling and touring, playing somewhere like in a foreign country or something, I just want to go directly into the amp. I want to make sure I get a good sound. I've been playing with a sound generator, like an amp simulator that I take when we travel abroad, because that way I can get the tone I want and just plug it into any amp and just use the clean channel.
Yeah.
And it's good enough, I get a good sound that way, and it's consistent, and the box is bulletproof, it's like a stomp on it's 2 channels, so I have one for solo boost and then the other for rhythm. And that way I can just perform. I don't have to worry about, oh God, I got to get to the wah pedal now, or I got to go and push on the flanger. Fuck all that. I like just out the window. I just want to get out there and fucking, really just lay it down and perform and have a good time. I don't want to be bogged down with a bunch of effects that, most of the time people don't notice it anyway. They're looking at the lead singer's balls or something, so it doesn't matter.
Which brings me to my next question. Not about lead singer's balls, but like as far as like as far as influences, I've actually gone on the Hexx Metal website, read all the stuff. Great stuff on there, by the way. Really crazy shit. Like, you guys got a lot of information about the band on there. Anybody that's a fan of Hexx should really go on there and like read up on some of the history of the band. But what are your, like, for the people that don't know, what are your influences? I know you mentioned UFO and stuff like that. Like, early on, what really got you going and getting you into the whole, like, just playing guitar and wanting to be in a band and that sort of thing?
Well, actually, my Uncle Joe got me into playing music. He was a guitar player in bands in the 60s and 70s, and he had long hair and played a Les Paul, and he was cool. And his band would rehearse at my grandmother's house, where he lived on Saturdays. And I'd gotten my first guitar. I think I was 7 or 8, and I'd got my first real electric guitar and a little amplifier, and I was learning how to play. And he invited me over to his to watch his band rehearse in my grandmother's living room. And I was just, I was like, I'm hanging with the cool guys now, right? So I'm just a little kid, right? But they're being cool, and they were kind of goofing on that I was, already, playing guitar and into it, and they let me sit in with them, So I mean, my amp wasn't, we couldn't hear what I was doing because I had a little toy practice amp, but I felt so cool jamming with those guys. I couldn't really play, but it was great, man. That did more than anything to fuel the fire for me. And then he turned me on to, Michael Schenker and Richie Blackmore and Tony Iommi and on and on.
Yeah.
Rick Derringer, Robin Trower, the list goes on and on. He turned me on to everybody. And I was just a sponge. I went out and bought all the records, and I joined that, what was the thing you buy, 99 cents for 100 records kind of deal, and you never pay them.
Columbia House.
Columbia House. So, because we were poor, man. I didn't have any money to buy records, so that was the only way I could do it. I just soaked up everything. I used to make, in order to further my soloing abilities, I used to make cassette tapes of all the solos of all the players I liked. Like I had a whole tape just of Eddie Van Halen. I cut all his solos out and spliced them together. And I had a Michael Schenker tape with all his solos sheet together, Jimmy Page, Richie Blackmore, Robin Trower. And I would just listen to these 90-minute cassettes every night when I was going to sleep. So I'm just listening to solos, end on end, just the solos. And when I got older and was, lucky enough to have a girlfriend sleep with me or something, it would drive me crazy. It's not even a song. It's just soloing. You wouldn't understand, honey.
That's awesome. That's fucking awesome. Oh yeah. And getting back to the early days and stuff like that. What I noticed Kirk Hammett was mentioned a couple of times on the Hexx Metal website. Like, what's your relationship with him?
Oh well, Kirk lived right around the street from where my grandmother lived, and when my parents broke up, we lived at my grandmother's house for a while. And Bill knew Kirk, Bill Peterson, our old bass player, and he knew Kirk. And actually, we all met in junior high school, and we met exchanging comic books. We were all kind of comic book nerds, and so there was like 4 or 5 of us that would meet, in a place where the other guys wouldn't beat us up, and traded comic books and stuff. And Kirk was one of those guys, and we would go to his house, and we started getting into guitars. In fact, I sold Kirk his first electric guitar. I sold him my original guitar that I got for Christmas. It was like a Telstar, something. I sold it to him for $15 and a stack of Cream magazines that he had. And he'd taken all the pictures from the inside the Cream magazines, like of all the artists and stuff, and pasted them on his wall. So all the magazines he gave me in trade, I didn't bother looking at them first, right? I had all the fucking pictures taken out of them. Yeah, so I don't know if he remembers that or not, but I remember thinking, shit, I should have held on to that guitar.
What kind of comics were you into back in those days? This is a really random question. I
was into Spider-Man. I was into Marvel comics. Iron Man, Ghost Rider. Of course, I grew up, with early Batman and Superman and stuff. When I got older, I got into Spider-Man, and that was my main thing. Daredevil, the early Marvel stuff was what we were into.
So is that where that Spider Jam comes from at the end of Morbid Reality? Because you guys do a sick, dude, and it's totally from the '60s cartoon, and it's so awesome. That shit is legendary, really great.
Is that you, Willie?
Yeah.
That's very observant of you, man. You're pretty sharp. I'm going to be looking out for you.
Well, no, I could tell, dude. You had the whole din 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 da da. I mean, I watched every single episode of that shit. So when I heard that, I was like, oh my god, Hexx is into Spider-Man. Fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah. And I'm not the only person that noticed. Actually, our drummer, Caesar, I actually mentioned that I was going to interview. I was like, dude, I got to ask him what's up with the Spider Jam? Whose idea was that? You know, like what's up with that? You know,
Yeah.
people noticed.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I actually forgot about that song. That was fun to play live too. It was, it was instrumental. So it gave Clint a break on the vocal, and we got to have a jam on it. As that actually came about, uh, we were high on pot. We always smoked dope at rehearsal, and so we were stoned and goofing around, and I started doing that riff, and it just kind of came together, and it just came together one night at practice.
Yeah, no, that it came out great. By the way, it's like one of my favorite tracks on the album. Believe it or not.
I've forgotten all about that. Thanks for reminding me.
Which actually, getting back to those days, I got to ask you another question that, I'm sure there's somebody out there listening that's wondering the same thing. And it always kind of like messed me up, man. Like I said, I got into Morbid Reality first, went and checked out the old stuff. Funny enough, I went to a local metal show down here in South Florida, and I found a Hexx tape, but there was no tape inside, right? So, and it was the Watery Graves tape, and I'm like, oh shit, look at this. It's that sick band. Yeah. So I went out and I got it, like I hunted for that, like crazy. I was like, oh, I need the Watery Graves, from the Wild Rags,
Yeah.
And so I finally got it, right? And it said, had the tracks on one side and an interview on the other side.
Yeah.
Put on the interview. There's no interview on the other side. Like, what happened with the interview? Like, was there an interview on there, or like?
Well, there was no. It wasn't on there, but we did an interview. That was Richard C. The guy from Wild Rags Records. That was his idea, promotional idea, to do the single, and then on the back of the tape have like an interview. And we did the interview, and I don't know I forget now what the problem was. Either he didn't like it, or it didn't work, or something, or it didn't end up on the tape, is what all I really remember. So yeah, that was just weird.
Oh man, I mean, do any recordings of that interview still exist, or is that like
I don't know. That was so long ago, man. I was 20, 30 years ago.
Willie, didn't you tell me that you thought you got like a defective tape because it didn't have the interview?
I thought mine was broke. I bought it again. I bought it twice, and then I bought it on vinyl, and it like didn't have it on there either. I was like, dude, what's up with the interview, man? So you know what I'm going to do when we get off on this thing? I'm going to go ahead and like get the tape and put this interview on side B. That's what I'm going to do. I'm like, I have the Hexx interview finally, man, after I don't know how many fucking years.
Yeah, Dan, can you remember what you said on that interview so we can put it here?
Let's replay it. Hi, I'm the guy from Wild Rags. How you doing, Dan?
And I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so we're gonna take it all the way back to Paradox. I know you guys opened up for a bunch of killer acts and stuff like that. You want to talk a little bit about that? Kind of smarten everybody up on the old Paradox days, or?
Yeah. Paradox. We graduated from the backyard party scene. Everybody was doing that. Backyard beer parties, and some of those got really wild, man. We played this one in San Pablo, near down the street from where the California Hells Angels lived, and they came and raided the party, and they got rowdy, and they started fights, and we were jamming in the living room, and everybody's going crazy, and the next this guy comes flying through like the wall. It's like somebody threw him through the wall, and it was just incredible. These big nasty bikers all tweaked out on meth and booze. It was just awful. So we graduated from that into nightclubs, and we started playing the old Waldorf, the Keystone Berkeley circuit, the Keystone circuits here in the Bay Area. We started opening for bigger acts, and then we got a chance to open for Quiet Riot and Lita Ford at the Concert Barn, and that worked out really well. We had a really good show, and everybody loved us. And then the following week, we got to open for Dio's very first concert when he left Sabbath and went out on his own for the Holy Diver tour. Jimmy Bain and Vivian Campbell on guitar, and we got to open that show. And that was the complete opposite. Everybody, I mean, nobody wanted to see Paradox, man. We had a half-hour set. We're opening the show. It was a hardcore Black Sabbath fans out there. There's 4,000 people out there, and the show was Quiet Riot. We were like, we could do no wrong. Everybody loved us. It was great. We thought it was great. We thought this weekend was going to be the same thing. Everybody hated us. We just a sea of just flipping us off. Bottles, cups, ice, booze. They're trying to get us off the stage, and that was hard, man. That was like one weekend you total adulation, the next weekend total rejection by a large crowd. But we didn't let them boo us off the stage. We finished our set, and but yeah, that was quite an experience.
You figure it would have been the opposite, right? Because I think Paradox was more aligned with Dio than Quiet Riot and Lita Ford, right?
Well, what a lot of people don't realize was that at that time we had a female singer. It was before Dennis Manzo joined the band, and so we were coming off at that point in our careers kind of like a heavy metal Heart. The singer was really good. She sounded and looked like Pat Benatar, and so she was she was blonde. She was really good looking, and of course wearing the spandex and stuff and the striped shirts, and that went well with the Quiet Riot crowd, but it did not fly with the Sabbath crowd. So
damn.
And after that, we got Dennis Manzo in the band, and then we did a demo, and then we got signed and became Hexx.
And whose idea was it to change the name from Paradox to Hexx, and where did that even come from? The whole because by the way, that's a killer fucking name for a band. Hey, we're Hexx. You're Hexxed.
It seemed like a good idea at the time, but over the years, whenever something bad happens or something doesn't work out for the band, I think, maybe I shouldn't have named the band Hexx. But I'm not superstitious, so I don't pay any attention to that. But it was actually Mike Barney's, from Shrapnel Records. It was his idea because he said they were already, he did a name search. This is before everybody had personal computers and access to the internet, but he did a name search. And he said, there's already several Paradoxes in Europe and stuff, and it's going to be confusing. And maybe that was true, maybe not. Maybe he just thought it wasn't a very metal name or something. And so we all, got stoned and drunk, and everybody wrote down a bunch of names, and Hexx was the only one everybody could agree upon, including Mike Barney. So, and then we were running out of time. It's like, hey, man, you guys are in the studio next week. We got to get this going on. And that was the other funny thing is that, we'd done a 3-song demo that I'd sent in to Mike Varney's. He used to do an article for Guitar Player magazine back in the day, spotlighting guitarists. And so I sent him our demo, hoping he would do an article on me, as a guitarist, because I was the only guitarist in the band at that time. And he called me one time, and I was so excited. I thought he was going to do an article on me, and he was just inviting me to this head cutting contest at the Palo Alto Keystone. Get a bunch of guitarists together, and you go and face off and try to cut each other's head, And so I did that, and then after that, he wasn't even at the gig. I thought, Mike Barty's going to be there. He's going to see me play. We're going to get signed, and none of that happened. So weeks went by, and I was all depressed. And then he calls me up and wanted to know if we wanted to make a record. And so I was like, okay, nobody else was asking, so we said yes.
Wow. And you ended up on Shrapnel.
Yeah, the first 2 records were on Shrapnel. So
that's awesome. So you were part of the whole Bay Area Exodus and the first wave, right?
Oh, yeah. In fact, when Kurt got tapped to play with Metallica, Gary and Tom from Exodus approached me one night at the old Waldorf and asked me if I would be interested in, taking his place. And at the time, those guys were way hardcore partiers than we were. I mean, we were doing drugs and stuff, but not like those guys. Those guys were really more into it than I was. And I turned them down, and I thought at the time they weren't like what they are now. They were kind of sloppy and they were playing, it wasn't for me. And I wasn't into doing all the hard drugs. So I passed, So I often wonder what my career would be like had I, turned left when I should have turned right or something,
Wow, that's intense, man.
Everything happens for a reason, Dan,
I don't know. That may be so, but
Well, I'm gonna go out and say it because everybody else is thinking of Metallica. They're posers now, and like Hexx isn't. So that's the reality. I mean, they've sucked for like a good amount of time, So yeah,
That's
well,
Willie saying that.
I'm totally. I'll say it, dude. Yeah, Metallica sucks, dude. They've sucked for like decades,
yeah, you gotta realize, man. That's, I mean, they're gone down in history as the fucking one of probably the biggest bands in the world. It's hard to maintain that level once you've done that, and it's I I'm sure they don't care. I'm sure they're laughing all the way to the bank. So
No, of course. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, like at a certain point you're like, oh yeah, they're rock stars or whatever. But I mean, to be honest with you, like in the underground, metal community, it's kind of like almost even like a joke, I mean, yeah, everybody likes like the early albums or whatever, but I mean, it's no big secret. The Load, Black Album, all that stuff was kind of. Well, I'm gonna go off on a tangent, so let's get back to Hexx. Because I don't want to like trash Metallica on your show, Ralph. Sorry.
yeah, that's
But I don't have a show of my own, so it doesn't matter what I say.
right.
But getting back to the stuff, what's up with? You guys were friends with a lot of bands, also like Sadist and Autopsy. Autopsy was a crazy like death metal thing. Can you tell us a little bit about the whole Autopsy friendship you guys had going on back then?
Yeah, our rhythm guitar player Clint Bauer, and our drummer John Schaefer were friends with all those guys. So when they got in Hexx, we all kind of became friends, and we did gigs together and partied together. And the guys from Sadist had one of the guys owned or had somebody's relative had a bowling alley in Antioch, and we would have gigs there. And of course, bowling is great because it's one of the only sports where they bring you drinks, nachos and stuff, So, but yeah, those were good times, man. And we all were different, Sadist was very different from Autopsy, and Autopsy was very different from Hexx, and so it made an interesting show. You got a little cross section of what was to be, the Bay Area sound,
Yeah, no, it was getting pretty like. I mean, did you dig any of that? Like any of the death metal stuff? Any of that crazy like really like vomitacious like Autopsy and those type of bands or whatever? Were you ever into that?
I can definitely appreciate it and where they're coming from and stuff, but for me, I guess I'm old fashioned. I grew up, I started off listening to the Beatles and the Monkees, so I'm more song oriented. I'm more of a storyteller. So for me, power metal is a better format. All the fast riffs and all the lyrics that you can't understand with the growling vocals and stuff. It just doesn't do much for me. I appreciate it and understand it as an art form, but it's not really my cup of tea, I guess you'd say.
And when did you get into like the whole? Because I know you progressed as far as your guitar playing, like over the years, and you got into different things. And real curveball was the whole like Hellbillies thing and the whole rockabilly thing. Like, how did you get into that actually?
Well, when the bottom dropped out for Hexx, I was just kind of like at a low point, and I kind of reinvented myself. I just wanted to go back to my roots, and I wanted to start getting into root music. So I got into blues and jazz, and I started playing piano at that time. I started playing boogie woogie piano and blues piano, and I just got really into blues music, and then that led me into rockabilly. And so I got a Gretsch 6120, those big orange hollow body like Brian plays. And I talked my buddy Bill Peterson into getting a stand-up bass and learning how to play stand-up bass. And we found another drummer, and we started doing rockabilly. And we had put together a band called the Tombstones. I wrote 20 or 30 songs, and we recorded them. And we started playing shows in San Francisco in the rockabilly scene. And I saw an ad in a newspaper in the Bam magazine. Somebody was looking for a psychobilly guitar player. And the only thing I knew about psychobilly was the Meteors, from England. And I called up, and apparently I was the only guy that called up that even knew what psychobilly was. So I got an audition, And after I'd learned their set, their songs are very simple compared to what Hexx was doing. So it was fun. I could totally get drunk and play hellbilly shows. Like 4 songs, or 3 or 4 chords in the songs. It's like blues, but vamped up punky rockabilly. And so it was a lot of fun, man. I toured Europe 3 times with the hellbillies, and we actually had pretty good following over there. And psychobilly is more happening there in Europe than here in the States, but we did some pretty big shows here in the States too. We did big shows at the Knitting Factory in Los Angeles, and there's some other. Oh, we played House of Blues, man. We got the headline, the House of Blues, in Anaheim and in downtown Los Angeles.
Nice.
And those were huge gigs. So at our peak, we really had to go. And Bill Peterson, the bass player, I got him in that too. So he was playing stand-up bass, and it was fun. It was nothing. I guess you could say I kind of had metal fatigue for a minute there. We poured our heart and soul into this Hexx project for years and years, and we're just banging our heads against the wall, and it didn't work. We couldn't get success out of it. Everybody else seemed to be successful, and we were not. So I figured, well, a wise man has to know his limitations, right? So I just decided to try this other stuff. And we had a lot of fun with it. We made a lot of records. I made like 4 records with the Hellbillies. I made 3 or 4 records with the Tombstones, and did a lot of touring, had a lot of fun. And then when I got the call, what happened was my wife talked me into getting onto Facebook, and I was reluctant to do that. And the next day, I get a request from Laurent Remedier from France, wanting to know, saying, "Hey, you guys want to come to Europe and play the Kit Festival? They'll pay all expenses, and blah blah blah. Reform the band, and then that's what started Hexx getting back in. And so I've been doing Hexx ever since then."
So when you were invited to play this festival, by then, like, the fatigue was gone, right? Did you get like a new appreciation for metal being away from it for a while?
Yeah, I think it was necessary because I didn't have the heart for it anymore. I'd given everything and had gotten nothing in return. In term from my perspective at that time, and so to revisit it again, it was fresh again. It felt good. It felt right. Like that I needed to step away for 10 years and then come back to it.
Right.
So yeah, it's weird. I guess not a lot of guys do that, but that's what I did.
It helped. It really did help.
Yeah, and I think it made me a more well-rounded musician to understand, the early roots music formats, the early country stuff, blues, especially starting to play piano. You get a feeling for chord structures, song structure, and what works, what doesn't work. You get a different perspective from playing the roots music. And then when you go back to metal, and I just realized, wow, man, I had a different perspective and a new outlook on it. So I don't know. I don't know what Hexx would sound like right now if I hadn't done that,
Right. Willie, you there?
Yeah, no, I'm here. I'm not listening. Actually, it's funny because, when you were talking about you could go out on stage and just play drunk or whatever. Oh, by the way, just so you guys know, for the record, I'm drunk right now. By the way, I've been like pounding down scotch like a madman, while we're like talking. I'm like excited, it's like it's party time. I'm talking to freaking Dan from Hexx, man. It's sick, So what's your drink of choice? That's not even on my list, but I want to know.
Oh man, I was a bourbon man for a long time. I loved Jim Beam, Maker's Mark, the top shelf bourbon. Yeah, I had to stop though, man. The end of this month, on the 27th, it'll be a year that I have not had any alcohol. Yeah, my doctor said if I didn't stop drinking, I wasn't going to live to see my next birthday, and that was last year. So I had to stop, and I had to change my diet. I can't eat meat anymore and stuff like that. I have to, stick to a plant-based diet, and I can't have any other processed foods. I'm an old man. My body is worn out. I just can't handle that shit anymore. But believe me, it's hard, man. I hear your ice clinking, and it's making me thirsty.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry, man. I had no idea.
Well, to make you feel better, Dan, I'm drinking Crystal Light.
Okay, well, I'm a drinker, man. I still like to smoke pot, but I can't do the alcohol anymore.
Well, yeah, me as well. 5 years ago, and it wasn't due to my drinking, because Willie will tell you, I was an occasional drinker, but I went to the hospital.
Yeah.
'Cause, my pancreas was all messed up,
Oh,
and it had nothing to do with alcohol. But the doctors didn't believe me. They said you
right.
can't drink no more. I was like, yeah, it's okay. No, 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 no. You can't drink no more. I was like, it's fine. I was like, but I'm not an alcoholic. Sure, you're not an alcoholic.
That's what they all say.
Yeah,
but
whatever.
I did stop, so I'm with you, man. And
Oh,
congratulations for being a year off it.
well, thank you, thank you. Yeah, it was necessary, man. It was time. I look back on. I started drinking when I started playing in clubs at age 16, and they used to pay us in alcohol.
Right.
And I've been drinking ever since, man. And I figure, I'm old now. I drink a river of bourbon and an ocean of beer. So I got it out of my system. And when I see somebody drinking a nice cold beer or taking a nice shot, especially I like bourbon on the rocks. So when I see that, it's like it's nostalgic, and my mind knows that time is for me is gone. Just can't do it anymore.
Life's more
I,
important, man.
I enjoy watching you guys do it, so I'll live by.
Well, Willie.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I hope that, like, because I went to go get some ice earlier. I hope that didn't come out in the recording. Like I was like, oh shit,
Yeah, it did.
It did. Ah, fuck,
It
dude.
don't matter. It's okay.
It's all
Well,
right.
it's heavy metal, rock and roll, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, it's yeah.
But it's funny because actually the last drink I just poured myself, I did it straight because I was like, oh shit, the ice, like that's probably coming out in the recording.
It
That's
adds ambiance.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, a little bit of. It's funny. You guys were saying that the production. You were talking about the production on the early stuff. I actually like the production on the early stuff. I mean, yeah, it's cool to hear it clearer. And actually, now that because I said I didn't hear the new album, so I'm actually even more excited now because I didn't even know you guys re-recorded anything from like the old stuff. So I'm dying to hear this shit.
Oh, it's really it's amazing actually. It's night and day actually. Is the clarity. I mean, they did a really good job on the production on the whole album. Really, where the old songs that were re-recorded sound, it blends well with the rest of the album. You know what I mean? Has the same sound, right? You did that all
Yeah,
at the same time.
yeah. We recorded all the songs at the same time, and the same studio and everything. So yeah, it was the 90% of the material comes from me, so it's all gonna sound like that.
Yeah,
Right.
you guys have a really good singer, though. I mean, I mean, and even the drummer. We've talked about your drummer. Like he's sick, dude. He like really is like top notch. You've always been, it looks like Hexx has always been like surrounded by really, really like talented guys.
Yeah, we've been fortunate. Yeah, Johnny Schaefer's a monster, man. He's a relentless drumming machine, man, and he's like I don't know where he gets his energy. He's like one of those wind up toys, the Energizer bunny. You wind him up, man, and you can't stop him. He just goes. And Eddie is just like an incredible talent and an incredible find, and a real sweetheart of a guy. He's so easy to get along with and so mellow, and he's a total professional all the way down the line. He really stepped up to the plate on this album. Because some of the things were challenging, and it was it was quite an experience. Watching him, and helping him, with the phrasing during the recording process, because with every line that we record, you just start getting goosebumps. You go, man, that's really good. And then he doubles it, and then he adds a harmony. It's like, wow, hey, this is working.
Are there any like any more reissues that you know of coming out? Any like box sets or anything like that you might know of like down the road or anything like that?
For Hexx?
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, they pretty much milked us dry, man. We've released about everything we have except for the missing album.
Yeah, dude, that tape, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's. I mean, there's a lot of people that have to listen to this. I'm sorry, I didn't want to like open up a can of worms there. everything will be like, oh, dude, where's that Hexx that we've never
Well,
heard? You know?
if you can't find it, you can't find it. What can you do?
Well,
Yeah.
I did look for it once, but after listening to 20 or 30 tapes, and there was 300 or 400 more tapes to go, I was saying, damn, why didn't I mark that fucking tape? You know.
Ah.
Oh,
Back in those days, we would just use the same rehearsal tape over and over until we got the song good enough, and then we'd pull it out and put it in a new tape. And a lot of times, we were stoned and we didn't mark it. And I think that's what happened. It's just some blank tape somewhere that has our album on it that no one will probably ever hear,
wow.
Well, here's a pretty random question. Like, how do you feel about like tapes versus CD versus vinyl? Like, what's your favorite? Like, when you want to like jam out at home, do you like to listen to stuff on vinyl, or do you like to like just hear an MP3, or like what's like your like go to as far as that goes?
Yeah, I've got I still have a record player, and I down in my basement, and I have a large record vinyl collection, and I still play records all the time. I have a large compact disc collection as well, so I play those too, and I've got an iPod and stuff, so I've got everything on MP3. I got it on CD. I got it on vinyl. It's like every time they change the format, I got to buy the Beatles White Album again.
Yeah, the 180 gram. Oh, I got to get that one now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same here. I bought the White Album many a times.
That's a good album.
Yeah, it's just like you. It's like a lot of people are like, no, vinyl's the way to go. I'm like, I have more vinyls than CD. I have a huge vinyl collection, but I still love CDs.
Yeah, you too. It's like a mini album. I can see why the vinyl's still popular, especially in Europe, because it's such a big format. You got a nice big artwork.
Yeah.
Like what I used to really enjoy back in the day was, when you buy a record, you had to save up your money or mow 500 lawns, whatever it took to get enough money to buy that record. And then you take it home, you unwrap the shrink wrap, it's all brand new. You put it on your turntable, you sit down on the bed or lie down on the bed and read the liner notes or read the lyrics and just get involved in it.
That's exactly what I did, Dan. I'm 55, so I'm a child from the 70s. That everything you just said, even mowing lawns, because you had to be very specific too. It's like, God, I only got enough for one album, so you really had to do your homework.
Yeah, my dad was a tightwad, man. I was lucky to get 25 cents for mowing the lawn, so I had to mow the lawn a lot to get to buy a record.
Yeah. I used to go mow other people's lawn. They're a little more generous.
Yeah, I did too. I used to just take the lawnmower and walk up and down the street and knock on doors, And then we used to make candy and take it door to door and sell it. It was just rancid, horrible candy. We had this candy maker thing, and it was, but people felt sorry for us and gave us
all for music, man.
Yeah, it's like that,
And yeah, I did the same thing. I used to take my bike. It was like a good 3-4 mile ride. And like an example, like when I bought British Steel, and I stopped for a second, I turned the album around, I see like the titles like Metal Gods and stuff like that. Like got right back on the bike and was just so curious to hear this, and nothing more special than laying down after a good bike ride, listening to brand new music on a vinyl.
Yeah, it's great, man. So I think they still do that in Europe. I think that's part of the attraction and part of the charm.
Right. So you got any more old school questions for him, Willie?
I'm all out. I can keep going though. But I'm actually kind of curious when you said the Beatles, because I keep getting off topic. First it was the favorite drink, now it's the Beatles. What's your favorite Beatles album? Because I dig the Beatles too, and that's kind of cool, man. Like I don't know, like what's your number one Beatles?
Would it be the White Album?
No, I was such a huge fan. I got into the Beatles, well, partly because my uncle turned me on to them, but I first I got into the Monkees, and my first concert was at the Oakland Coliseum. I saw the Monkees in 1967 or 1968 with Jefferson Airplane opening up.
Oh wow!
That was my first concert, and then I graduated to the Beatles. I didn't get to see the Beatles in concert, but my parents took me to our drive-in theater when Hard Day's Night came out.
Wow!
And I was just a little kid, and I don't remember it that well, but my parents told me that during that movie, I was in the back seat. They sat in the front. They said I bounced up and down on that seat through the whole movie. Drove them crazy.
Wow.
Couldn't keep me still. So yeah, I was just totally into the Beatles. So they're such brilliant songwriters. It's hard to pick one record. Sergeant Pepper's comes to mind. Let
I
It Be.
love the.
They
Yeah,
all a moment in time, and they're all a reflection on society and everything. So they each have their moment.
yeah.
I love them all. Really,
Sa-
they're
sa-
masterpieces.
Same here. From Please Please Me to Let It Be, but if I had to pick one, I'd say like the middle era, Rubber Soul, Revolver.
Oh, Rubber
That's
Soul, yeah,
yeah.
Revolver, yeah. God,
Those would be
Yeah,
my
it's
favorites, but I love them all.
that's
brilliant.
actually my favorite era, like Rubber Soul and Revolver, like both of those two. Like they're pretty because it's like right before they got really like wonky and stuff like that, which is cool too. But they were like kind of in that
Before they
gray
got
area.
into the psychedelic drugs, or they were probably still into them, but before they became the trippy Beatles.
Yeah.
You ever see that movie Walk Hard?
Yes,
Oh
I did. Yeah,
yeah.
I own it. I own it. Yeah.
Jack Black, they're pretending the Beatles. Hello, Paul
Yeah.
McCartney.
The wrong kid died.
And
Wait, is that
the trippy Beatles?
wait? Isn't Walk Hard the part where he goes, "I can't connect the bottom half to the top half"? Speak English, Doc. We ain't scientists.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
one, yeah.
dude, that shit's hilarious.
Dewey, I'm cutting half pretty bad. You're gonna have to be double great for both of us.
Oh man.
Class.
Kid died.
Yeah, the wrong kid died.
My wife hates that movie, but I love it.
I love it too. Yeah, especially that Beatles scene.
Yeah, it's classic. They're
Jack
all
Black as Paul
Yeah.
McCartney.
Right. Classic.
I was gonna actually ask the getting back to the new album that you guys coming out that I wasn't able to hear unfortunately, but Ralph did, and he was went on and on about it, which I'm totally gonna buy a copy the second it comes out. I saw the cover, dude. The cover is excellent. Like what's the dude? That's awesome. It's like Hexx, and it's got like these dudes, like these Catholic, well, I'm assuming that they're Catholic, but I mean,
Yes.
I was raised Catholic, so to me it looks Catholic,
Yes.
Yeah. I can relate a little bit to what you were saying earlier, and dude, that album cover is excellent, like excellent, seriously.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have I'm a heavy metal musician, right? I mean, it's my job to piss off religious people and expose their ignorance and hypocrisy, right? So,
Hell yeah.
the Roman Catholic institutions have paid out in upwards of $2.5 billion in settlements of church officials charged with sexual molestation of underage boys. And this was back in 2014 or something. And there's no end to the cases that are still pending. And, it's just, I just, you have to understand that, I don't have any intentions to, attack people's beliefs or bash their particular faith. But I simply mean to bring to light the truth about our oppressors and how they've used religions to manipulate the masses into conformity through fear and intolerance.
Absolutely.
And persuade your vote. It's all mixed into politics and stuff. And so I'm an atheist, and I really think the whole religion thing is holding humanity back. And somebody, I'm calling attention to the elephant in the room with that record cover. It's like somebody's got to say something and do something, because it's just not right.
Yeah,
No,
you
but
see
that's
like the kids crying, and then behind them gold, and
It's what it is. It's the Catholic priests, down in the Vatican, surrounded with all their wealth and gold, because they have this, people have given this to them. They have this immovable social power and wealth.
right.
And they're into politics and everything else, and it's fucked up, man. It's really holding back the development of our species, I think. And so, I don't want to try to be all religious or political and stuff, but it matters. I want to see my species do better than we're doing.
I understand. Was it your the artwork was it your idea before it was drawn?
Yeah. I pitched the idea. I pitched a bunch of ideas to our manager, and they're all he kind of talked me out of most of them because they were a little over the top. That was the mild one that we all could live with, you know.
It actually makes the point, though, if you look at it.
Yeah, we didn't want it to be too blatantly anti-religious. We wanted to hint at, you know, with the little kid looking back with the crying. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I think it makes a powerful statement, and the idea is to engage people to think about, examine your beliefs. You know, it's the thing about faith is, you know, it's faith-based beliefs. You know, once you have faith and believe something, you stop investigating. You know, you stop questioning, and then you're trapped. You're stuck. You're like you're in your mind's in prison in the dungeon of a superstition, and people will, you know, they can seldom rise above it in their life. You know, and I see it as a problem. You know.
Well, of course, it is a big problem, and it's a problem that just has been going on for pretty much centuries, right? And
Christianity's been around for 2,000 years, so, you know, and they've been inflicting that at the edge of a sword, you know.
Right.
If you didn't believe in their savior, man, they cut your head off, man.
Well, yeah, it's always been.
Well,
that makes quite an impact on your family, you know. Okay, we believe, you know.
Well, yeah, it's always been like a strong political force, you know. It's always been something to govern the people, like above everything else, you know. And I could see that, man. It was cool. Like when I saw that album cover, I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, man, Hexx, and you know, you got this album cover, and it's cool. Like it's not like a lot of these new bands kind of go over the top with the imagery and stuff like that, which is cool too. I dig that as well. Yeah. But this is done in a nice, tasteful, you know, sort of way, and
where it makes the point. It really does. I mean, you know even without hearing a note of the music, you know exactly what that painting means.
You know? Yeah, and the artist Roberto Tedrico, you know, he really captured it. You know, I sent him an email describing. The idea was I wanted to have. You guys remember the Kiss Love Gun cover? You know,
yes.
That looked like those guys they're all four of them are standing there. They got these chicks writhing around them.
Right.
I wanted something like that, but with four Catholic priests. And the original idea was the young boys were going to be in their underwear right up about to get inflation. And you know, luckily my manager, you know, talked me up. Okay, they can't be in their underwear. They can't be looking too much like they're going to blow them. So we brought them back, and you know, and so it's the way you see it now. It was the original idea. So it's a good thing. Shit. It's a good thing I have a manager to reel me in.
I don't know. I think that concept you just had now would have caused a lot of controversy and maybe a little more headlines. You know.
Hey man, you know, I'd rather be hated than ignored, right? So
yeah, exactly, and more thought provoking, right?
Hey, maybe High Roller will do like a cover B. You know, you never know.
yeah. Talk to High Roller and don't mention it to your manager.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. This may be our last record, so I don't know. You know, they may not want us back after this.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
no,
Dan, go ahead, Willie.
No, you go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, you know, we've been here over an hour, and I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
And it was great for both of us. I know Willie a little more, but still, you know, I mean, I am a fan of Hexx, and I love the new album, man. I got to stress that to the people, and I will release this podcast when at least it's on pre-order. Do you know if it's on pre-order yet?
I don't know. I assume so.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll have to find out. But
yeah, because I don't want to put this out without any, because I want to add links to, get yours, here.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's we still got what is September 25th. We still got time.
Yeah. So yeah, I do. Is there any last thing you want to say, Willie?
Yeah, if you don't buy the new Hexx album, you're a fucking poser.
Yeah, there you go.
And fuck you, and you don't know what good shit is, and yeah, that's all I gotta say.
It's really been a pleasure to talk to both of you guys. It's rare that I get to talk to somebody that knows the band or even cares about the band. It's like my day-to-day life. Nobody knows I even play guitar or anything. I have my job, and I go to do my job every day and come home, and it's like sometimes I forget how cool I really am. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, let me just tell you, man. I've woken up with a really stiff neck from banging my head to Hexx all night, drunk out of my mind. You know, like let me tell you, there's a lot of people out there, a lot. You know, when you meet a Hexx fan, somebody who likes Hexx, you don't really meet a person that's like, oh, you know Hexx? No, I never heard of him. Yeah, maybe you might get that, but if somebody knows Hexx, it's always followed by, oh, dude, that's like one of my favorite bands. You know, like it's just one of those special kind of bands that it's like you're all in. You know what I'm saying? Like every Hexx fan out there, and I speak for a few people because I've met a few other Hexx fans out there, and you guys are really like appreciated by a good number of people out there. Trust me. So if you ever have any doubts or anything, you're like, oh, I'm on my own with this. Only I'll like this album and this and that. That's actually not true. There's a lot of diehards out there, and the support will never stop coming ever. And we'll all be eager to hear like a new thing, and find that tape, by the
way. Maybe I'll take some time and look for it again now that you reminded me of it. But I really appreciate your kind words. That really makes me feel good because sometimes I forget, why am I even doing this? I just do it because it's what I do.
Well, no, because you're a real rock and roll warrior, man. That's why.
I'm just too stupid to stop, I guess.
Fuck yeah.
And that's a really good thing. And after this pandemic, Dan, if you guys ever tour South Florida, you guys can stay at my place. I don't drink. Don't stay with Willie.
Oh, fuck.
Willie can come over too. I can be around people that drink. It's fine.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, I appreciate it. And I'm probably going to take you up on that because we'll probably need a place to stay if we go down there.
Definitely. Come to South Florida, man. You definitely can stay at our place and my place and have my band open for you guys.
Hey, that'd be great. What's the name of your band?
Thrash or Die.
Ah, I like that. What do you guys got? What do you guys got going on? You got a record out or a demo or something?
We have 2 albums out. We've toured the world, and we're on Return Nukem High, which is a Trauma picture. We're in that movie, and we got a little thing going. There's 4 people with our tattoos.
Well,
that's great.
Actually, I got to tell you, you're gonna actually laugh at this, Dan. I'm an ex-member of Thrash. I'm no longer with the band.
Yeah, I kicked him out.
Yeah, he kicked my ass out. He's like, "Oh, you suck. Your riffs suck. You suck."
No, he's amazing. He's amazing.
You're gonna get a kick out of this one. So I have another band now that I'm trying to get off the ground, actually, and you're gonna love the name. You're gonna just love the name, and I swear it's not because of anything. It's a coincidence. I have to say
it is a coincidence. He didn't name it after you guys.
No, but my band's called Hexorcist.
Wow.
That's an awesome name. I love it.
Yeah, that's very innovative. I like that.
Yeah, but somewhere in my subconscious, there was Hexx. It's in there.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, subliminally he called you guys after.
Yeah, but I don't play guitar like you. I'm gonna tell you that right off the fucking bat. I can shred, I can do it, but not like you.
But Willie is he's a very humble guitar player. He's very good. Came up with some sick riffs, and if you want to take the time, we're on YouTube. To look up some Thrash or Die and the crazy riffs he came up with.
I will. I will definitely check that out.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for your time, and did you have fun?
Oh, I had a great time talking with both you and Willie.
Great, man. I really do appreciate your time. And everybody out there, keep your ear out for Entangled in Sin on High Roller Records, coming out September 25th, 2020.
And if you don't buy, you're a poser.
Buy or die.
Nice.
Well, there you have it. The interview with Dan from Hexx. What a great guy. What a great interview. What a wacky dude that William Barter is. All right. Let's listen to something from the new Hexx. So come in my vault. All right. Here we go. This is from the new album, Entangled in Chaos, coming out September 25th, 2020 on High Roller Records. You look at the description below, you find out how to get yours. Get it. It's damn worth it. And here's some proof. This is a song that Dan had a hard time, and I don't blame him because all songs on this album rules, but he said, play Strive the Grave. So here it is. Strive the Grave by Hexx. Strive the Grave by Hexx off their brand new album, Entangled in Sin, on High Roller Records, coming out September 25th, 2020. In the description below, that's where you order it. And I know you will, because that kicked ass. Once again, thank you everybody for listening. Thanks everybody out there that's sharing my podcast and that's subscribed and leave me those iTunes reviews. And I'll read them on the air and I'll read your name on the air. And thank you so much if you're still listening, because you're a true hardcore Vieira Vol fan, and I appreciate you more than you know. So there'll be more episodes. Yes, I got more episodes in the can. There's no ending in sight. Every Sunday I'm putting up a new one on Spreaker, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much, everybody. I love doing this. I love you that's listening to this. Till next time, schmack 'em a gob.